Hello everyone, today I wanted to make a quick video going over everything we know about Stygian Onslaught. That's the name of the new endgame coming out next patch. We saw some information about it on the livestream, but there's been a lot more that's come out of the creator experience server tests that people have been doing both in EN and on CN. So today I just want to look at the kind of rewards you'll get, how to get them, and the difficulties you'll expect. We'll save the boss specific guides until it's actually out. So first of all, it always starts 8 days into a patch, so always drops on the Wednesday after the patch launches. I don't know how long it will last, but I expect it to be the whole patch, and the challenge itself is comprised of 3 different boss fights, and there's 6 different difficulties that you can challenge. The first 3 difficulties are the only ones to reward Primo Gems. You can clear these ones in co-op and use characters multiple times per boss. After completing the level 3 or higher difficulty, you'll then have the opportunity to spend some resin. Before you start the challenge, you'll get to pick an artifact domain, and spending this resin gives you the exact same rewards as it would do for clearing an artifact domain. The advantage of spending it here over the artifact domain is for the first 10 days after this endgame launches, you will get extra rewards for spending that resin. For every 120 resin you spend this way, you'll get 1 extra 5-star artifact drop. So if you have a lot of fragile resin saved from the past, this is a great opportunity to spend them as you'll get more rewards for your resin. I don't think there's a cap on the amount of resin that you can spend over these 10 days, but once you hit the value of I think 1,200 resin, you'll get an extra reward. And this reward is one of the 3 Dust of Enlightenment rewards you can get from this endgame. So as we said, for the first 3 levels, you'll get Primo Gem rewards, you'll get some Mora and some Hero's Wits. And to start looking at the difficulties, the level 3 difficulty is about the same as Overworld. So this should be more than accomplishable for almost any player, especially because you can do this in co-op. Doing this in co-op should also be easier than bosses usually are in co-op. Usually their HP scales up and up depending on the number of players, but here it's fixed at a maximum of 150%. Let alone mentioning that for the first 3 difficulties, you'll have 10 minutes to defeat each boss, so it should just be a game of survival even if you're really weak. You only need to defeat 1 boss at a time to claim all the artifact rewards, but to start claiming those artifact rewards and claiming all of the Primo Gem rewards, you'll have to defeat all 3 of the bosses of stages 1, 2, and 3. And so now we can start looking at the more challenging difficulties. It's quite a jump in difficulty from 3 to 4, the biggest difference being the time that you have to complete it in. It goes down from 10 minutes all the way to 120 seconds per boss. You can no longer do any of this in co-op, so it all has to be single player, and the characters for each boss must be unique. You can't reuse weapons, artifacts, or characters to fight each boss. So even if you've really invested into one team that's great for a particular boss, you won't be able to use those same characters for any of the other bosses. The health pools of these enemies then also jump up quite a lot, even if the mechanics are the same. For difficulty 4, this should be about the same difficulty as Abyss 412. Not to mention how the level of the enemies will also go up from 90 to 100. But in turn, for clearing this higher difficulty, instead of getting Primo Gems, you'll now be rewarded with a Dust of Enlightenment. Alongside this, as they mentioned in the livestream, if you have someone in your friends list that has cleared difficulty 6, which we'll go over later, then any of the characters that any of your friends use to clear that difficulty will have a boost to their stats, and it's the same that opening characters in Imagium Theatre get, which is 20% health, attack, and defense. It won't make a game-changing difference, but it's something worth remembering and highlighting. So maybe you're used to fighting enemies in the Abyss, and you have lots of teams available, so you can get past this level 4 competently. What's after this? Well, we still have 2 whole levels left. At level 5, things take another dramatic turn. The health pools are now not only about 1.5 times what they were before, but all of the bosses are now level 105 and have brand new mechanics. These mechanics are a lot like the mechanics you'd see in the boss challenge events, and so fighting them will put more restrictions on the teams you're used to using for this. Maybe you'll have to bring different characters to deal with those specific mechanics. Again, you can't do this in co-op, you can't bring duplicate characters, the same rules that apply to level 4 apply to level 5. So whereas before it was Abyss level difficulty, this will be more like Abyss level difficulty but you also have to be using somewhat meta teams. It goes to a minimum of, just looking at HP, not looking at the mechanics, about 40,000 damage per second to 60,000 damage per second. And keep in mind, this is 120 seconds and you start with no energy, so you're going to lose some time to mechanics, you're going to lose some of the time to getting energy on your character, and just some of the time to high resistance of the enemies. Oh, if you didn't know, I maybe should have mentioned this earlier, you don't get any energy at the start of these combats. Every character starts with 0 energy. This means certain characters will be a lot better than others, ones that require less energy, depend less on energy. Characters that use energy in different ways are all things you're going to have to think about coming into this. And remember, this is only difficulty 5, there's still one difficulty left, but just the same as difficulty 4, because this is a harder challenge, you'll again get rewarded with another of the 3 Dust of Enlightenments you can get. This will be the last one you'll be able to get from this event. So what the hell do you get from difficulty 6, and how hard is it? So not only will all of those prerequisites before of not co-op, more difficult mechanics, and everything else be prevalent, but these enemies now go to a level 110. Keep in mind that enemies having a higher level than you, and a bigger discrepancy between your level and the enemy's level, means you do less damage to them because of the specific way that defense gets calculated. Admittedly, this is only like a 1% difference, but it's still significant. But versus difficulty 5, difficulty 6, the enemies have about double the health. That's crazy. This goes from competent or well-built characters at free-to-play level being able to clear this, to only being able to clear this if you have invested teams, not only time-wise and well-built, but also vertically. There is only really one team in the whole combination of the game that can manage this damage threshold on their own at C0 with a battle pass weapon and not a free-to-play weapon. So you have to understand that to be able to clear level 6, you will either need signature weapons or constellations on those characters. And this is across 3 teams, so you'll need 3 teams with constellations and signature weapons. This damage threshold is about 125,000. This obviously differs per boss quite significantly now, but this is only really accessible for people that have invested into the meta teams for the bosses that they're fighting, because these bosses, because of the mechanics, really want you to play a couple of specific teams, and there's not too much variance you'll be able to play at difficulty 6. Oh, just to cover all the bases as well, those buffs that you got previously from friends completing difficulty 6, you don't get at difficulty 6. And this is all expecting that you complete this difficulty with 120 seconds per boss, just like before. But there's actually a hidden difficulty and an extra reward you get for completing all of the bosses combined in less than 180 seconds, so that's half the expected time you're given. That's doubling the damage that you do, from 125,000 to 250,000 on average. That's only feasible for Ultra Whales, for people with C6, R5s, and they have to know how to play the game. This can't be the kind of person that pulls C6 just for comfort and is pretty lazy with how they build their account. This needs to not only be Leviathan level, but they need to know what they're doing and have well invested characters. So it's kind of crazy that Genshin would put something in the game like this. The rewards must be minor, right? Well, they're custom weapon skins. They're finally doing it, custom weapon skins, but it's so limited to the accessibility people have to it. For kind of low spenders, somewhere between a dolphin and a whale who has quite a few characters well invested on their account, they might be able to get the basic version of the skin, or the skin without the fancy animations. Think of it like how Arlecchino has a slightly different look once she hits C6. It's a very minor difference to the weapon that you'll get the free skin of. So if you complete the difficulty 6 within 120 seconds per boss, so 360 seconds total, you'll get this 4-star version of the weapon skin. From what I can tell, this is a weapon skin that you can put on any character, but it only lasts a set period of time. You'll unlock all the skins, so all the weapon skins at the same time, but they'll only last until the end of the patch. So even if you miss out on getting this reward, it's not that big of a deal, because by the time the next patch comes along, no one will have it anymore. So yeah, it's crazy. I think that should be everything you initially need to know. Of course, if you want to know how to defeat the bosses specifically, tune in for my in-depth guides for Stygian Onslaught when that eventually comes out. And in the meanwhile, best of luck. Bye bye.